Good evening everyone and welcome to another video. It has literally been, well, not literally, it has been ages and ages since I last uploaded a good old video, and thus you are getting completely ancient gameplay that I figured gives you something to watch, maybe reminisce a little bit while I'll talk about other stuff completely. Now, basically what I'm going to be doing is basically talk about me. I'm not doing this in the oh woe is me, pity me kind of thing. It's more like I want to explain what's been happening and why I've been AFK for so long, and how I'm hoping kind of the future will be different now. I'm also going to get medical and technical with you guys, so basically bear with me, and if you're not interested in that at all, then don't watch this video basically. So 8 years ago I was diagnosed with two autoimmune diseases, namely Hashimoto's disease and Graves' disease. An autoimmune disease basically means you have something in your body that is attacking your body. For unknown reason, it's sort of like a malfunction in your immune system. And Hashimoto's and Graves both target the thyroid, or part of the thyroid really. And your thyroid runs your whole energy household in your body, but also your hormonal household, so to speak. So if you run a marathon, you need a proper thyroid basically. And it also, this is stuff that I didn't know until I had it, to be fair. It also has a lot to do with your bowel movements and everything, because one of the things that I found with my thyroid not functioning as it should is that my stomach acid has gotten worse, as in I don't get the nutrients from my food that I should, and that causes a whole scala of other problems. And it all started with that little thyroid. Basically, my memory was crap and I couldn't concentrate or focus very well. I had no energy whatsoever, up until the point that you could go up a stairs and I would be like completely spent, and that kind of stuff. Like, it sounds silly, but it's actually really like that. And then I got medication for it, and it takes a while before you can regulate that properly, so that you have the right dosage and all of that. And after that I was stable for years and could live a relatively normal life. It's not like you're perfect, because your body isn't working as it should anymore, but it was perfect enough basically. And as long as you have the right dosage, which will change every few years, it goes up and down a little bit and all, then you're probably just fine and you don't need to worry much, and you can live a relatively normal life. So with those two in the bag, and having vitiligo, which is also an autoimmune disease, but it basically just affects the pigment of your skin, so it doesn't really bother me, I thought that okay, that would be it, and I'd be on meds for the rest of my life for my thyroid, but that's it. Boy, was I wrong. Like, all of this happened in 2012 and 13, with the whole medication regulation and all of that. And by the end of I got the diagnosis at the end of 2012, and by the end of 2013 I was on meds, had the right dosage, and basically could live a relatively normal life again. And then came around 2017 in November, I started feeling less than good, and basically just like feeling really tired and couldn't focus again. And of course, the first thing that you look at then, knowing my medical history, is my thyroid. So I had my blood taken, and yes, my levels were a little bit weird, so okay, I upped my meds a little bit and didn't think much of it after that. Except that I kept not feeling well, and over time it just got worse. So I went to my doctor and was like, yeah, this is not my thyroid, there's more going on, I want to get tested for other stuff. So one of the things they tested me for is Addison's disease, which is another autoimmune disease, and it turns out that I do have it, but I have the luck that it's inactive, which is a good thing, because of the whole collection of autoimmune diseases that I've got by now, that is one of the few that can actually be lethal if it gets active and is ignored. So I have to watch out for that for the rest of my life. But where it all went wrong with me is that it took me literally 2 years to get a diagnosis. And I'm not talking about Addison, because like I said, Addison wasn't active. it took me 2 years to get a diagnosis of what is actually ailing me. And between my starting to look where I was like not feeling too well, but not feeling completely horrible, and my actually getting the diagnosis, everything has gone to shit, really. I've got near permanent headaches. My body is in pain 24/7, and I mean like my whole body. It's like you've exercised and you get muscle cramps the day after, kind of like that, but then in your whole body and the whole time. And painkillers and all of that, it doesn't help anything. Now, the magic name that is attached to this and all the other ailments that I have right now is fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia is kind of like a neurological thing where your brain keeps sending pain signals to your body even though there's no damage to suggest that you need to be in pain. Which basically sucks. It's not an autoimmune disease, but it is chronic and there is no real medication for it, and there's also no cure for it, so that sucks. But that whole package is basically why I've been inactive for so long, because everything becomes a chore when you have no energy, and the first thing that goes on the back burner is your hobbies. And in this case, for me, that was basically Blitz and making videos and all of that. Because as much as I enjoy it, it's not something that I could, in good conscience, keep doing, knowing that I had to sort of more or less stop working and all. I'm currently working 50%, which is, well, fine. But I'm working 50% for nearly 2 years now, which means that next month my work can actually fire me for 50%, because that's basically how our law works, and I will have to go on benefits, which is not great. Like, it is what it is, I can't change it, but I'd rather not, really. But yeah, just, I can't manage whole days. Whole days is just asking way too much of me. My body can't cope with it. I do not have the energy, I do not have the focus, and basically with everything hurting 24/7, it is not really easy to enjoy life. So actually last year mainly I got into a huge depression, up to the point that I've googled all what there is to know about euthanasia, which basically means ending your life, but then officially that's sort of like a very short version of how I've been feeling. But yeah, I basically just, I didn't want to live anymore, not with that way, not with that pain and everything that was connected to it. Because life just wasn't fun when you can't do anything you enjoy because you don't have the energy and your body hurts the whole time. At some point, it starts grinding away at your mental positivity and your mental capability to handle it all, really. And in my case, it was also just a giant frustration of not being listened to by the doctors. It took me literally 3 hospitals, 5 specialists, an MRI, tons of blood work and everything to eventually get to the diagnosis that I've gotten. I had to fight for it so hard because they just kept staring themselves blind at my thyroid, and it wasn't that. So, of course, it wasn't only that. One of the other things that was playing is the house situation that I had. I'm 35 years old. You think that I live in a house or an apartment, but because I'm don't have the greatest paying job. I love my job, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want any other, but it isn't the greatest wages that I could get, so I can't afford to buy a house with the current mortgage rules that they have here, which of course were adjusted during the crisis in 2009, which has made it a lot harder to get a mortgage and all of that. But aside from that, you have social housing. I've been registered for more than 10 years now, and for my city I still don't get anywhere near actually getting a house or any such. So I've kind of had like more temporary homes of sorts, and I'd end up living back with my mum, which isn't too bad a thing. My mum and I have a great relationship and we get along just perfectly, so I'm not exactly worried about that. But when she was about to retire, I was like, I can't stay here. I mean, it's one thing to live together and sort of both be at work and have your share of time together and all. It's another thing that when I'd get home, she would always be there. So I kind of took like the first place that I could get, which was tiny, but it was independent. It's like a little studio, so it had its own bathroom and its own little kitchen and all. And that was doable. I mean, that's what I thought at the time. And that's basically also where everything went wrong, because the house has 7 studios and 3 of those were rented out to a foundation. And I didn't know that when I got the place, but that meant that basically there were 3 studios where there were always people with issues. They had to run away from violence at home, or they had drug issues. They mainly had drug issues. And there was more stuff going on. Like my last downstairs neighbor was literally half deaf. And he was an overall nice guy. We're fairly sure he was dealing, but okay. But overall he was pretty nice, and he would play his music very loudly because he would literally only hear like half of it. But that meant that I could literally just listen to all the lyrics to every song that he was playing. And then you had the guy that eventually got kicked out for all the drug uses that he did, and the friends that he got over where, yeah, it wasn't clean, so to speak. And then he came back and tried to set the house on fire. The guy that came into that studio after him was eventually lifted out of his bed by police officers with bulletproof vests and rifles because he was firearm dangerous. Like in NA that might not be too big a deal, but here in the Netherlands that's definitely a very big deal. So basically it didn't take me long to not feel safe there, and I would actually spend a lot of my time back at my mum's. Not so much because I wanted to be there and just enjoy a company, which of course I do, but still. But mainly because I just didn't want to be at home because I didn't feel safe there. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is basically because fibromyalgia, which is the current thing that is messing up my life really, really badly, is incredibly stress sensitive. And that means that if you're in a stressful situation, the plain flares basically get a lot worse. And that is also what was happening with me. So I was hurting already, and all my symptoms and stuff just got worse and worse and worse because the situation wasn't getting better either. And I just ended up feeling more stressed, more trapped, more unsafe, and thus be in more pain, which made me feel worse, and sort of like a very vicious circle that just keeps going on and making everything worse. And then COVID started last year, and I basically lived at my mum's for nearly 9 months to sort of like form a household with her. And like I said, we get along great, so all that is fine. But at the same time, it's not your own home, and not actually wanting to be home because your home sucks so much is not exactly a relaxing thing. So that's when I got the diagnosis May last year. I mean, it took a while, but I finally got it. It also kind of pushed me very far into depression because, like, it was the confirmation that I had something that could not be cured, that medication could not solve, and it would be there for the rest of my life. Yeah, I mean, I paused there a little bit, but it's more like when you realize that, you basically decide life sucks. And I decided that I didn't want to wake up anymore. It's not something that I enjoy. I didn't want to live that life. And like I said, this got to the point where I became pretty much an expert on the subject of euthanasia and all of that. And my mum actually got a cat for me, even though he's technically not mine, and I made it clear that she shouldn't get him from me. But she kind of got him from me because she knows how much I love cat, how much of a cat person I am. And cats can have a healing effect on not just the body, but like on your mind as well. It's like scientifically proven that purring is a healing thing, both for the cat itself, but also for anyone cuddling the cat. And he did wonders for my mental health. He made me pretty much less suicidal, as weird as that may sound. And then came around December 2020, and pretty much everything changed. I work in a notary office, and that basically means that people that buy houses have to go there to sign deeds. Now, one of the people there that was there to buy a house basically buys houses and rents out the places inside. And in this case, the house that he was buying had an empty studio in there. So my boss, bless him, he was actually like, well, we actually have a colleague who's looking for a place. She's currently like in a very shitty home, and she would love to move. Why don't you have a look at her? So they got a, he sent pictures of the place, and they got me into contact with him. And long story short, I moved in last week. So it's been absolutely crazy since pretty much December, and I've had very little rest. My body hurts from pretty much everything and anything, but I just feel so much better. I've moved into a place and it's a different place. It feels safe. I feel less, well, less everything really. Less stressed, less pain. My headache has finally stopped, which is like unreal. I've had that headache for literal months and it's finally gone. And that's really just given me a new, well, outlook on life is maybe not the right word, but like a little bit of faith in life again. That it's actually going to be okay, that I might actually just have a fun life again, especially since I walk in here and it's like I relax. It's like I can just like relax and enjoy things again. And that sounds perhaps really silly to you, but to me it was a world of difference. One that I hadn't actually thought that I would be experiencing again. And that's not the only positive thing that 2021 is starting for me with. Basically, another thing that's happening is that beginning of March, I'm finally starting a special revalidation track to help me deal with fibromyalgia better. Now, basically, what they do is like if you chop off your foot, your brain will still register like there's a foot there, and that foot will hurt. And it's kind of like there's no sense to it, but your brain still thinks it's there. And in a way, it's kind of the same with fibro, where your brain is registering pain, but there's no actual physical damage that is causing that pain. So what they do in this track, aside from helping you deal with stressful things and psychological issues so that you can lead as relaxed a life as possible, they also look at your brain basically, and they're trying to teach your brain to not send these pain signals, to have your brain realize there's no reason to send all these pain signals. And it doesn't work for everyone, but if that works for me, that basically means that I should hopefully be living a relatively pain-free life again, and what a joy that would be. I could finally go back to work fully, and I could maybe do other things again, see friends, hang out. Well, of course, COVID aside and all, but you know what I mean. And it's actually like giving me a very healthy perspective for life again. And as I said, I hadn't actually thought, if you had asked me last summer that this would be happening now, I would have laughed in your face. So after a few very dark years and very dark times in my life, basically, I'm hoping to never experience stuff like this again, to be fair, but still, I've finally got some light at the end of the tunnel again, and I'm actually looking forward to life again, and that's huge, to be fair, considering how far I went to the other side, basically. And like, I've no illusions. I know that my health is going to be an issue for the rest of my life. That my thyroid will cause issues, that fibro will cause issues, depending on everything else that's happening, and all that is fine. It just needs to be manageable. I need to be able to enjoy life regardless of that. And that's something I feel that I'm going to be able to do now. So that's huge. And I'm actually really looking forward to that. I know that my tournament commentary has suffered greatly with my health as well, because I just can't focus well on everything. So I've got the hope that that will also change for the better and just become more of a positive thing, and that I'll get better at it. I've got a few projects, game based and YouTube based, that I want to be working on, that I hope people will enjoy. And it's been such a long time since I've tried to think about stuff like that, that I wanted to think about stuff like that. And that's saying a lot about how I'm doing right now, and how things are slowly but surely changing for the better. And like I said before, I'm not making this video as a woe is me, or I don't want you to pity me. It's not like that, but it's more like I've been AFK for nearly a few years now, and I feel people deserve an explanation for that. And I just hope that by being this honest about all that's ailing me and where I've been mind-wise as well, it will help you at least do that. So if you have any questions, by all means ask them here on Discord. And for now, thank you for watching and bye bye.